last week we did our absolute best to
Correct.
tier dynasty quarterbacks collectively.
Correct.
And oddly enough, we didn't have that many disagreements. I think we did really good on that one. You can watch that video here if I link it afterwards. I'm worried about this one though, because now we are trying to rank dynasty running backs.
It's
okay,
tough.
this
It's tough.
tier is going to be dynasty running backs. These are all guys that we think could be starting options, this year, beyond. And we're ranking them from a dynasty football perspective. Okay, so guys that we kind of want to bet on for our dynasty teams. This is going to be very interesting. Badaki and I have different thoughts, and we're going to try and create a collective tiered running back list. Now, if you want access to all of our rankings, to exclusive content, to
Correct.
fantasy advice through a DM and more, check out our Patreon in the link below. And also, if you want to make your own version of this tier maker that we've created, then we've also got a link in the description.
It's all
you can
there.
tag us on Twitter or put it in the Discord and tag us, whatever the case may be. But let's get to this, Badaki. So in the S tier, I don't know how you feel about this, but I only had one player I felt that I could put in the S tier, and that's Jonathan Taylor.
That is correct.
Can we agree there?
100%. No
Okay.
doubt about it.
I think there are 4 or 5
I think
players
there's-
that can get to this tier
Yes, I
this
agree.
year alone, but I'm not sure that I could really place any of them in that tier at this point.
I agree. I think there's definitely some opportunity there for some other players. But right now, I was happy just putting Jonathan Taylor in that S tier.
Okay, now we have the A tier. And by the way, when we get down to F, it's not like the people who are in the F tier are just really bad players. It's just they were not in the tier of the people above. Okay,
Correct.
so A tier. I think Javante's in this for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's at the beginning of my A tier. Who's at the beginning of yours? I think it might
Najee.
be Najee. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely Najee for me.
So I'll go ahead and meet you halfway, and I will put Najee at the beginning. I would go Javante, but I get where you're coming
Yeah.
from. I
It
think
doesn't
it's
matter.
a good conversation.
Yeah, it's a good conversation. For me, it doesn't really matter. We don't really have to put it which either way. But yeah, let's.
Sure. Now, who's the next running back on this list for you? I think the reason I'm compromising is so I can put mine here. But
Right. So
who's the next guy on the list for you?
I have 2 more people on this list, and that's technically Swift and Brees.
Okay, I actually have 3.
Okay.
That is Swift, Brees. Brees, then Swift, and then CMC.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I think we agree on 2 of those guys. So I'm gonna pop Brees in here. He's already my running back 3 in my rankings. I really do believe that he is an elite prospect. I don't think that the hype is too much for Brees. I do think he is an elite prospect. I've said that from day one, and I like the landing spot. I like what New York is doing.
Yep.
You said Swift. I absolutely agree. I think
Yep.
Swift is in that category. Let's talk CMC. I do think that CMC should still be in this category, but it is close. I don't
Yeah.
think it's a guarantee.
I think.
And a lot of people in the Dynasty community are much higher on CMC.
Yeah,
A
they
lot
are.
of people would actually have
They
him
are.
at the top of this A list. For me, I can see why he's in this category, but in Dynasty, whether we like it or we don't, we do have to consider age. Has a player signed a second contract, and how much time
Agreed.
does he have left, and
Agreed.
what offense is he really operating in? And at this point, I don't think I can put him at the top of this list.
Mhm.
Are you upset if we do put him at the end of this list, though?
No. I think that's okay. And I think the reason why I didn't have him in this A tier was because I was comfortable putting him at the start of the B tier because
Okay.
we know the history. We know what he can do. We know what he's done, and if he can just get over those hurdle injuries, there's no doubt he can be in that A tier.
Sure.
But I think just to give him respect, that's why I put him in the B tier at my very first spot. So that was the thought process while doing this.
Do you know what movie that's from?
No.
Parasite. Respect.
No.
You never seen Parasite?
I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
Anyway.
Anyway.
If you guys know, you know. Comment down below. All right, B tier. For me, thinking about this, the more I thought about it, the more I feel like, let me start with you. Who's at the beginning of this B tier?
All right, I have it in this order. I'll give you my first 2. I have Joe and JK.
Okay. I have Joe and JK there. I have Eckler as the first guy.
As the first one? Okay.
And then I have ETN. So for
Mhm.
me, it's Eckler, ETN, Joe, JK, and then one more player that we'll talk about. But so you have Joe first, is that correct?
Yeah. I'll tell you
Okay.
my first 5, I guess, because you said you have 5 people, but you have an extra,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I have Joe, JK, Austin, Cam, Etienne.
Okay. So I don't have Cam in this tier.
Mhm.
He's not even close in this tier for me.
That's fair.
Let's agree on what we agree on. You said Joe
Right.
Mixon. Okay.
Right.
You said Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
You have Austin Eckler in this tier?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I personally, if I'm doing a dynasty team today, I think I'm betting on Eckler over Mixon personally. But I get where you're coming from,
Okay.
so I guess we can put Mixon there.
That's fine.
We both have JK, so I think
Yeah.
we can agree on that. We're big JK stands,
Mhm.
believers. And then the two people I have in this tier is Kenneth Walker and Travis Etienne.
Right.
Now, if we don't agree on Walker, I'm happy to.
I actually have Walker in this. So the only other person,
Okay.
the only person you don't have in this tier is Cam Akers.
Yes, I don't have Cam Akers in this tier, and you don't have Travis Etienne from my.
I do have Travis Etienne.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is hard.
I just have Cam Akers in that tier. So just put Kenneth Walker, and then the only other person that's left in my rankings that belong in that tier is Cam Akers. But we can put him aside, and then we can find an even medium for now.
Okay, let's talk about Cam Akers. So this would be the only players I have in my B tier. I don't have them in this specific order.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if Akers was like at the beginning of my C tier, I could get there. I've said this before, so many times. It's not a secret. I'm worried about the injury. I am. It is what it is. He's gonna have to break the mold of history, which is possible. People do it all the time. With modern day technology and medicine, but we've just never seen a running back come back from that. So I'm struggling to put him like these B tier guys. These are guys where I'm like, I am building my team around these type of running backs. And Akers, to me, he doesn't feel like he fits that mold.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the complete
so
opposite.
You would have him, obviously, you would have him in this tier, which means maybe a compromise is putting him at the beginning of C.
Okay. We can do that. We can put him
a compromise?
beginning of C or at the end of B. But either or, I'm happy. I'm happy
Okay.
with the beginning of C.
Okay. All right. We'll compromise there.
Mm-hmm.
I have the most people in this tier.
In the C tier? Okay.
This is where most of my running backs lie. And this is running backs that I feel, they carry value for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have more than just the next couple of years. Some of them I'm a little bit worried about.
Okay.
Others, if I have a win now team, these guys are prime candidates for me to draft or to be looking to trade for or to have on my squad.
Yeah.
So let's just go player by player and just discuss. So who's the next player that you would have on this list?
I have Dalvin.
Okay, I have Dalvin. I don't have him necessarily in this order, but I'll put him there.
I'll give you my next. I'll give you my next three: Dalvin, Say, Mitchell.
Okay, Dalvin, Say, Mitchell.
Doesn't have to be in any particular order. You can just put him in if you do have him on the tier, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
And then we can talk about order.
I actually have Saquon higher than Dalvin.
Okay. That's fair. I can definitely see that.
You also said Elijah Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm as high on Mitchell as you. There's quite a few players I would put ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm assuming one of those is Josh Jacobs.
One of those is Josh Jacobs. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And also Nick Chubb is actually at the beginning of this list for me.
Okay.
So I would actually have Nick Chubb all the way here, but I'm happy to kind of like meet you there.
Right. Okay. So I have Nick Chubb right after Josh Jacobs. That's how. So
Okay.
I technically have Dalvin, Saquon, Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins, and then Nick Chubb.
Did you mean to say J.K. Dobbins or did you mean
Sorry,
Josh Jacobs?
Josh Jacobs, excuse me.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with this kind of layout here.
Okay.
I would actually have two. I would have two guys ahead of Etienne, or sorry, Mitchell. That would be Gibson, as well as Alvin Kamara. These guys would be ahead of Mitchell for me.
I have Alvin Kamara in this tier, just not there.
So do you have Gibson in this tier?
I don't.
You don't have Gibson in this tier.
I do not.
So is that just because of Brian Robinson?
That's just because of Brian Robinson. That's because of the contract. If he does get re-signed, does he stay with Washington? Does he go somewhere else? There's a lot of question marks moving forward about Antonio Gibson. And I'm a little bit hesitant because I'm not sure if he's going to be utilized the same or near the same if he does go to another offense where For someone like a Josh Jacobs, I feel like he can do that. For someone like a Saquon after his contract, he can do that. You know, any of these other these guys that have another year on their contract, they're going to be free agents next year. Antonio Gibson is, I am the most worried about him. But if he proves me wrong without Brian Robinson or with Brian Robinson, then I can definitely have a different conversation. But he's definitely fallen significantly for me.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I think personally, the way I view the Antonio Gibson situation is that a lot of people are overreacting. Okay. We're talking about a guy who has already finished in the top 12 twice. He's only been in the league 2 years, so he's not had worse than the top 12 finish yet. I understand someone else is coming in, but I think they're going to use him in different ways. And there's been these reports that have come out. His usage will vary weekly. But did you read the entire report? Because the entire, I'm asking everyone, because the entire report says his volume will remain high. So to me, I still think he's going to be a vital part of their offense.
That's fair.
And I don't have any doubts that he is the most talented running back in that backfield. We talked about Brian Robinson. We said, yeah, he's an okay running back. He doesn't do anything special, if we're honest. And when I look at Gibson, I think there's quite a few areas that he's better than Brian Robinson at. Ball security might be the one thing he's not better
there's
Brian
no doubt.
Robinson than. But to meet you in the middle here, I'll put Cam Akers in this tier. I don't like it. It grosses me out, I'll be honest, to see him there. But I will do that
so we're moving back up.
To have Gibson in this tier. I'm trying to meet you halfway.
Okay. Yeah, let's continue then. I don't mind that. So we can put him in this tier. Do you have anyone else
Gibson here? I do have two other players here, which would be Derrick Henry and David Montgomery.
Okay, I definitely have Monty. I have Derrick Henry as well. So I actually have one more player.
Okay.
Which is Lenny.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how, and I have it in that order as well. So like Monty, Henry, and then Lenny.
Okay.
I really wanted to put Lenny higher, but I think with age and a fantasy perspective, it's definitely so tough.
Yeah. If this is, I've said how much I love him in redraft on our other channel.
Yeah.
I really think this is a 1-year rental. I really do.
For Lenny. Because of the whole Tom Brady. If Tom Brady does continue for another, at least.
He's not though. I mean, the minute that he signed that over $100 million deal to be an announcer, he's already thinking about the future.
Maybe.
You don't make that kind of deal if you've got 3. You don't make that kind of deal if you got 3 years left in you. You know what I mean?
I feel you. It's definitely a question.
So I view Lenny as truly as a 1-year rental. And when Tom goes, I think also goes his value and maybe
everyone's
the direction of this team. Yeah.
100%. No doubt. I completely agree with that.
Would you be happy to, since I met you in the middle there with Akers, would you be happy to meet me in the middle and make him the king of the D tier?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm definitely down.
Okay. So in this tier, I'm just going to tell you exactly who I have, and I want to know any disagreements that you might have. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. If we're talking about, for me, Aaron Jones and Fournette, their value isn't all that much different in Dynasty, in my opinion. If you're looking for 1 or 2 year rentals.
Right, okay.
Aaron Jones is just a younger guy, so I would feel more comfortable with him in Dynasty. I still think he's going to get a lot of work. I then have James Conner in this tier, Miles Sanders in this tier, Zeke, Tony Pollard, and 2 other guys, which is Clyde and Damian Harris. Now, is anyone not supposed to be in this tier for you?
No, that's actually perfect. I have everyone that you said, obviously in different order, but I actually really like how you set it up as well. I think A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, interchangeable. I think there was one person I will put above or just put back. I'll put Miles Sanders behind the Cowboys running back. Other than that, that's what I would have changed. That's what I have. That's different compared to you. So
I'm happy to meet you there. I do have my convictions on Miles.
For sure.
I've talked about him on the channel. I think, not even I think, just if you look at last year, he was one of the most efficient running backs. He just was also the most unlucky running back in fantasy football. So, unfortunately, with injuries and just weird situations, really weird situations, like the Detroit game, when almost every running back in that backfield got a touchdown, but he was gone. Didn't score a single touchdown. but he was one of the most efficient guys last year. I'm really I'm banking on Miles, I think, over these Cowboy guys, but I'm happy to meet you there.
Okay.
So now we have the F tier. I want to know, again, these are mostly, for the most part, these are guys that you might be able to start in your lineup. They are fringe. Mm-hmm. I feel like the guys in the D tier, I can start most of these guys. Yeah. Clyde worries me, but I think I can pop him into my lineup. Mm-hmm. The rest of these guys is, what are we going to get here? What are we going to get? So how'd this go for you?
Basically, the way I view this is who can I start immediately, especially in the Dynasty perspective. So obviously, Dameon Pierce, Tyler Algier, and then James Cook. As much as I love James Cook and I wanted to put him in the front of that F tier, okay, I couldn't because I know Dameon and I believe Tyler will immediately get touches from week 1. Then you have Brian Robinson. I kind of just put these guys in any random order, which was really hard. Not any random, but, I was really contemplating going back and forth. So Brian Robinson, Rashad White, Ramondre Stevenson, and then Kareem Hunt.
Okay, damn. I have Kareem at the very top of this list.
Okay.
I really believe that if Deshaun Watson is going to play, we're going to see. I mean, we're talking about a guy last year who was a top 6 running back before being injured, right?
I hear you.
I'm pretty sure the first 5 weeks. So if we're going to place guys like James Conner in the D tier, that's where I'm struggling because I'm thinking to myself, I don't know that Kareem Hunt is all that less valuable than someone like that.
A James Conner, right?
So
I guess it all depends, It really all depends because if Deshaun Watson does play, the expectation, because I agree, if Deshaun Watson does play, the expectation is that Kareem is going to get more work in the backfield. Deshaun Watson is a different quarterback. Yeah. We talked about this in other videos. Maybe we see a change of this running back where Nick Chubb takes less carries because Deshaun Watson is a mobile quarterback, and he is a competent quarterback that this team has never had before. So for Kareem to be a pass catching back and be a factor, then for sure we can definitely move him forward. I definitely see that outcome. But this was with the expectation of now with all the reports and allegations and everything coming out, it's tough to really see Deshaun Watson starting, and maybe they just revert back to Nick Chubb being the bell cow. But at the same time, we've seen proof of Kareem Hunt having proof, like you said, top 6. So it's difficult.
I'll say this on the Deshaun Watson situation. What does the NFL care about, guys? Whether we agree with it or not,
for sure,
they want to make money. That's all they want. The NFL just wants to make money. If they cared about, creating a specific image for their brand, a lot of things would have gone differently over the past decade. So, unfortunately, players get the, whatever. I mean, innocent to proven guilty, whichever side you stand. Okay. Right. I'm just saying how I feel about that situation at this moment, but it is looking worse and worse.
Yeah, it is.
So who's the next player that you would have on this list then?
Dameon.
Let's start. Dameon? Okay. I'm happy to meet you there. I actually have James Cook as my next guy, so I'll put him right after Dameon.
Love that. I love James.
This is interesting, though. I'm trying to understand this one because don't you have James Cook ahead of Dameon in your rankings?
I do. The thing is, I'm thinking so for the tiers, it's so hard because I'm trying to go to who's going to start and get opportunity immediately, which I do believe James Cook will get opportunity. Maybe not right off the bat. Maybe in the first 5 weeks is going to feel shaky. So that's why I did it. And I've definitely reflected this or going to be reflecting this in my rankings. As much as I love James Cook, I had him really high. He's my RB26 right now, right? Mm-hmm. Dameon is only my RB29. So they're not far off. I'm just thinking for this tier, maybe for this video, it's good to take a chance on Dameon to get that. That's going to be able to give you that 1 year opportunity, depending if you're a win now team, depending if you're maybe a futuristic team that just needs a running back right off the bat. I don't know. However you want to process it. But once again, they're really close. They're really, really close. And I believe in James.
All right. I'm going to tell you how I see the rest of this list, and you just tell me if you disagree. I know Algier's another one of these guys, the 1 year rental. I don't think he's as talented honestly, I don't think he's as talented as anyone on this list. I think he's and people might be upset at me saying that. I think he's the least talented running back of anyone on this list. Such a weak Pac-12 conference. Then I have Brian Robinson, and then I have Ramondre.
Yeah.
I can't believe it, but I do have Ramondre at the end. It's just because, I
agree.
There are 5 running backs there.
I'm not scared of those running backs, but I don't know if I can see a clear path for a workload for Ramondre coming into this year. Even outside of those running backs, I'm not scared of any of those guys.
Next year, if Damian Harris leaves, it's not like Ramondre's
the lead guy.
I'm the dude. I'm getting all the work.
Exactly.
That is not the New England way most of the time, unfortunately. So this is how I would have the rest of those guys. Any disagreements there?
No, I don't mind this. I don't mind this. I think really the only difference was that I have Tyler Algier, which is once again crazy, above James Cook. That was because of the 1 year rental. You know.
Jeez. Okay.
But I agree. I hear you.
Interesting. Okay, well, when I look at the list, overall, I'm kind of happy with it. We compromise in certain areas. I compromise with Akers. You compromise with Gibson. I compromise with Mixon at the top of the B.
Yeah, that's funny.
Overall, I feel pretty decent about this list. Yeah,
I think it's not bad. I'll be okay. I'm actually really okay with this. This is fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
It's so tough though. Like I was like squinting. My head was hurting trying to figure out who the hell I'm going to put in this order. You know, like what's the right order?
Yeah. And
I was going by my rankings, but I also was trying to bring you different perspectives as well. You know?
Yeah.
It's so tough. But it's fun.
It is tough. And, you know, I feel like we have a video on almost every single one of these players. So if you want to hear maybe specific reasoning, we have videos. I mean, the reasons why I'm so high on Josh Jacobs, we're going to record a video about that this week. We already have content on Gibson, on Akers, on CMC, on literally every player that you
pretty
can
much
see
every
almost.
single player. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
So check out our channel. Let us know. Comment down below. And, you know, our rankings are constantly changing. If you want access to them constantly, you know, on the go, on your phone, if you want access to them while you're drafting, you want to see the updated rankings. As news breaks, the rankings change. We update them at least once a month in the off season. And we in season, we update them, you know, almost every week. So check out our Patreon in the link below. Also, if you want to join a league of ours, but comment, tell us what your thoughts are on this tier. I'm sure there's going to be disagreements because there always are. There's always going to be disagreements. So let us know in the comments below.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLandFam.